Welcome to the show, All Things Writing. I am your host, Brian the Writer. Let me take you on a journey through my writing life and introduce you to some of the amazing talent that exists in the writing world. Whether you are looking for a little advice or just to catch an interesting interview, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All Things Writing starts now. Welcome to All Things Writing. As you know, I am Brian the Writer, the host for the show. I want to thank you for joining us today. It really, honestly, it means the world to me that you're here. You could be doing anything at this point during the day, but you're not. You're here with me, spending some time, and I just want to show my gratitude. Speaking of gratitude, it's the time of year to be showing gratitude, and what better way to show my gratitude than to pour out my heartfelt thanks for this month's show sponsor, Magic Mind. I love this stuff, by the way. What is Magic Mind? Well, it's the world's first productivity drink. I love it. So it comes in this shot, which you can either just drink, or you can throw in your workout bag, or you can take it with you to the beach. It's small, it's compact, very, very easy to use, but it's not the size that matters. What actually matters is what's inside of it. It has a little bit of caffeine. However, it also has a bunch of different ingredients that are very, very good for you, and they support brain health, function, clarity. Honestly, it's a great thing to try. I drink it. I absolutely love it. So listen, if you don't want to soak yourself in another endless stream of cappuccinos or lattes, or you don't want another cup of coffee because there's the crash that goes along with it, consider Magic Mind next time. It's available on Amazon, or you can go to Magic Mind's website. Just check out the website listed in this video, and you can have it. It's perfect. So check out Magic Mind. I did. I'm glad I did. Check it out. You're going to like it. Let me ask you a question. Let me just pose this question. This theoretical scenario. You walk into a room, and you're standing there with a bunch of people in the room, and you're talking, but no words come out of your mouth. So nobody hears you. Nobody can hear anything you're saying. That's what it's kind of like when you're a YouTuber and you post a video, but there's people that watch it and don't hit subscribe. We don't know you're listening. So I beg of you, please hit that subscribe button. It genuinely means the world to me. It lets me know you're out there. And by the way, the interaction I have with you on YouTube, very important to me. I read all your comments. I read everything you say to me, and it helps to make the content better as we go along. Don't be one of those people that watches the video and doesn't subscribe. Hitting the subscribe button is so easy, and you get stuff out of it. For example, you are a very lucky duck, because if you hit the subscribe button, not only do you get to know when my new videos come out, but I'm going to do something just for the YouTubers here. This is kind of an experiment, okay? I am putting up a special QR code right now that you can scan with your phone, and you can go get a free e-copy of The Dramatic Dead, which is the first book in my Dramatic Dead series. By the way, the next book of The Nameless Dead this is the third book in the series, is coming out right now. But you can read the first one for absolutely free just by hitting up that QR code, just because you subscribe, just because you watch this video. That's all you have to do. So I want to thank you very much for doing this. Please don't be one of those people that watches the video and doesn't hit subscribe. Please don't hit up subscribe. I can only beg so many times. Okay, enough of my begging. Now, on with the show. Welcome to the show again, everyone. What I love more than anything else is having authors return to talk to me about their work. And I have to give a huge shout out now to K Publicity for bringing this author back to me and saying, Brian, would you mind getting her on the show again? I said, are you kidding me? In a heartbeat. I saw the name. I literally didn't read past that. I just hit reply and said, yes, 1,000 times yes. So
sweet.
People will remember that recently I read the book. Hide, and I loved it. I really, really very much enjoyed that book. The pacing, the style, everything about it was great. It was fun. It was clean. It had that that great mystery detective police procedural story going on, and it was great. So of course, and I think at that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, I think at that time we talked about fall coming out. You were already
Mm-hmm.
working on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they said, "Hey, do you want to read fall?" I went, "Yes, yes, I do." Um, I will show that's the nice part about moving to an all YouTube format, is because then everybody can see what I'm holding up versus me just going, "I'm holding up a book now. Insert imagination here." I don't know. So fall is the next book to come out. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And
Awesome.
I think it's funny that I actually said I like this book more than I like the first book, and I love the first book. So it just tells me they're getting better in the storyline as they go along, which is so cool. I love a good story. I love a good mystery, police procedurals. I love it so much. Um, this one just sort of sucked me in. Now, I know I realize I'm doing sort of an on-screen review. I apologize for that. Um, it was excellent. Everybody should run out and buy it, but more about that later, because right now we are fortunate enough to have Tracy Clark on the line to talk to us today about her book. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
Oh, it's my honor. My honor. Now, like I said, I think last time we talked about it, fall was being worked on at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yep.
And the second I heard that it was coming out, I giggled very excitedly and I said, yes, yes, send it to me. And very well done. Now, there are a few listeners out there who may not know you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Well, I am a writer in training, I guess. I've been at it quite a while.
Aren't we all?
Right. You never get to the end, right? Let's see. I'm from Chicago. I live in Chicago, born here, raised here, live here, love it. I'm the author of 2 series. I've got the Cass Rain's Private Eye series that I had a lot of fun with. And this new series that I started a couple of years ago with Detective Harriet Foster, Chicago Police Department, and her homicide team. So I've got this series going. I'm trying to dig into this character as much as I can. And I sort of do that at 5:30 in the morning. That's my writing time. And then I swivel over to my day job. I still have my day job, and I'm an editor for newspapers. So, I have sort of split brain going on most of the time, but I managed to get it all done. So that's me in a nutshell. It's heading into winter here in Chicago. So, kind of nervous to see what that's going to be. And we could have nothing, or we could have 20 inches, which is kind of exciting. So we'll see.
As I like to point out, I'm actually from South Chicago, the Stager area. My brother still lives in Crete, and he's complaining about the
Okay.
fact that there's no snow yet. He
Right. It's
works,
almost Christmas.
yeah, right. He works down at the Chicago Northwestern Hospital, and down by Hyde Park area there.
Uh-huh.
So now to set the scene properly,
Yep.
why don't you tell us about the book Hyde, and sort of how does fall sort of work its way? How do we work our way from book one to book two?
Well, we start off with Hyde with Harriet, and I sort of put her in an interesting place. When they start Hyde, she is standing on the sidewalk in front of the police station, deciding whether or not she's going to go in or she's going to run and do something else, because she's sort of lived through these traumas, the death of her son, the death of her partner, which is kind of unexplained in book one. And she's carrying a certain level of guilt and remorse, grief, loss, and she's not sure whether or not she has it to sort of go into this and sort of ramp up and sort of do it again. But, of course, she has to go in. She does it. I give her the most impossible case that I could possibly give her, and the most impossible people to work with. And then we figure out who Harriet is. She gets through that first book, Hyde. We've got a serial killer on the loose. And as we ease into the second book, new case, still have the same team, her new partner, Detective Vera Lee, and the curmudgeonly detectives that she's got to work with. But someone is out there killing aldermen in the city of Chicago and placing 30 dimes or 30 pieces of silver on each of their bodies. So that's the impossible case that I give her this time. And underneath that is the thread of her personal journey and her personal getting through this trauma that I've given her. And so we have this unanswered question from book one. that she has to sort of deal with book two, and we get a look closer and get some closure there. But it's going to carry through to book three and book four. So I mean, Harriet is sort of a person who is sort of living a half life. She's brilliant on the job. She absolutely knows what she's doing. She's been doing it a long time. She knows how to solve cases. When she goes home and takes that badge and that gun off, and she's in this house, and that's all it is, because it's basically empty. She doesn't have much in there. She hasn't decorated. She's not in sort of, house proud sort of a thing. It's just a place for her to sit and sort of wait until her shift starts again the next morning. So we've got her in sort of a complicated place. I've got to get her out. And I think that's what book three and book four will be, trying to figure out that thing that's going to push her back into living.
Yeah. I love that imagery that you wove of her house being I can just imagine a person who's living this kind of life going home and unlocking the door, and there's just a couple of things sitting there, a couple of food items, and that's it. And they almost shut down and just wait for that next day to start. The psychology behind that is so visceral. It's you can almost sense it in that way. So tell us, I guess so I think in Fall, the thing that really caught me was where you are pulling us down into Harriet's psyche from the very beginning. That first chapter is a gut punch in a way, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Because I could put myself on her side in that, but I can also see it from other perspectives as well. So tell us in your own words, who is Harriet in Fall? I mean, within the context of the confining restraints of the book, who is she?
She is a cop, and basically that's all she is in Fall, because she's sort of closed off the other part. It's too painful. She's lost too much. And the feelings of guilt and responsibility are weighing on her like I don't know what. It's like having bricks on your shoulders. That's who Harriet is in Fall. And she's got to figure out a way to sort of move past that. She hasn't figured it out yet. She's got this puzzle that she's got to unravel. Okay, that's sort of a spark that's going to get her moving forward because she wants to know the answer. And she's the only way she's going to know the answer is she actually does something. So she's got that spark in Fall. She's going to carry through to the third book. We're going to figure out what that is. But little by little, she's having to dig herself out of a hole, basically. She's dug herself into a grave in the first book. She's still in the second book. She's a little closer to the surface in Fall, but she's still in that hole. She's got her partner, this new partner that she's sort of connected with. That's going to help her a little bit. That's a little shovel that's going to help her sort of dig herself out. But she's still there. And until she gets the answers that she's looking for, she's going to stay there. And I have to sort of figure out, I do, as a pantser, having absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, to sort of have something that's going to pull her out of this thing. But right now, she's just a cop. That's all she knows how to do. So she's going to do it. When she's off shift, she's nothing. She's just waiting. So cop. And then we have to figure out what else she is. But right now, that's all she can do.
She's almost like a ghost in the sense that
she's
life. She's
absolutely
she's a non-entity when she's not on duty.
She does what she has to do, and everything other than that, she has absolutely no idea what she's going to do.
I find it really interesting that in the very beginning, that very first chapter, we hear a little bit from her ex-husband RJ, and he in his own way says, "Listen, why are we doing this? Why are we continuing to drag ourselves through this horror of reliving our past of the death of our child at the hands of this murderer? Why are we doing this?" Now, but that kind of made me think is if you're standing there, Tracy, you're standing in front of Harriet, what advice would you give her at this point? I mean, What would be
I
your
would give
own
her the same.
personal?
In fact,
Oh,
RJ is my words. I mean, why are you doing this? It's
okay.
5 years
Okay.
on. Not to say that the loss is diminished. I don't
Hmm.
think you ever get over the loss of a
No.
child. But
No.
I think Harriet realizes at some level that this is not working. She sees RJ. He's gone on. He's remarried. He's got
Yeah.
a new kid. He's got a new family. He's found a way to sort of move forward. She hasn't done that. She
Yeah.
sees it. She knows it's there. She knows that path is there. She just cannot take it. And so RJ's words were my words. It's what I would have said to Harriet. You have to stop. You're hurting yourself more than you're hurting anybody else. But characters are characters, and that voice, that character, uh, lives a life of her own, and she's going to have to find a way, her own way.
Yeah.
My words are RJ's. Enough is enough. It's been 5 years. I know it's hard. You have to move on. She's not ready yet. And I have to find that thing that's going to make her ready or get her to that next point.
I kind of wondered about that a little bit as I was reading. I'm like, is this has to come from almost a writer's soul when they're talking back and forth with their characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wondered about that.
Well, kind of. I mean, at a certain point, we sort of lead because we
Hmm.
have to put them in a scene. We have to get the pages done. But
Yeah.
characters have a life of their own. They have their own voice. They have their own direction that they're going to take. And so, as much as I would like to push Harriet towards healing, her ears are dug in. She's not there yet. And,
Yeah.
I have to just sort of follow that voice and follow that journey, that arc, as slow as it might be, until she's ready to sort of find that thing, because she has to find something that's going to
Yeah.
make her want to have a full life. At this point, the half life is all she can handle. What's that thing going to be that sort of pushes her out of that hole that she's in and makes her sort of say, I'm back, even to a certain extent. And I haven't found what that thing is. Maybe the resolution of this case, that what happened to her partner, maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. Maybe she gets to the answer of that and that's still not it. But whatever it is, I've got to, she's got to move. Characters have to change. So she's going to have to
Yeah.
change at some point. She cannot stay where she is. There's a little change between Hide and Fall. There's got to be a little bit more between Fall and Echo, which is the next book out. And then the fourth book, there's got to be still change still. So she's going to have to move, even if it's backwards, even backwards movement. It's got to be something that happens.
Yeah.
So I'll figure out what that is in books 3 and 4, and hopefully it'll be good.
So I am going to wait to share this comment with you when we're not recording, but I'm gonna tease my listeners with this. I have a suspicion where you might mentally go with this, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not during the recording.
All
I'm
right.
just going to let it be, and it'll be interesting to see if I'm right.
Okay.
So now we have to take a very short break, so we can get our sponsor in there. Got to pay the bills, of course. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the book Fall by Tracy Clark. And we're back. So I have a question for you, and it's sort of one of those questions that popped up in my mind as we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious. So you edit for newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
When you're editing your own material, do you have, because those are two very different editing styles, I would think. Do you
Yeah, they
have
are.
how do you make your brain balance that?
I don't know. I just do. I am able to sort of cut it off. So my writing time is my writing time. That's a different part of my brain. I'm thinking story, character, dialogue, all that fun stuff. And when I shut it off and swivel over to the other stuff, that's, who, what, when, where, and how, whether or not this column comes together, whether or not the points are made, the facts are there. So it's a different almost part of the brain that I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to sort of swivel it. It happens. It works for me. Hopefully it'll continue to do that. But yeah, I kind of work it out.
Are you ever giving comments back to the reporters and you put things in there like, oh, come on, this is weak writing. You need to give me a little more here.
Yeah, that's all the time. I mean, that's my day job.
I was just wondering because my own editor for my novels says the exact same thing to me. Now, I may have asked you the same question the first time we interviewed. I think I did, but I love this idea of the Chicago cityscape driving the story. Do you think the city inspires emotion in terms of your writing? Because I think I saw some of that come through.
I definitely think it does. I mean, this city has a sort of a vibe all its own. I mean, this
Yes, yes, it does.
fall is about corruption, right? Political corruption. I mean, if you cannot write a book about political corruption in Chicago, I mean, you're not trying hard enough. I mean, this is what we do. This is our thing. And so
It's true.
when I mentioned that I'm killing aldermen in fall outside of the city, I get, polite little claps and everything. Oh, that's nice. It sounds great. When I mention it inside the city in Chicago, it's like I'm Jesus. I mean, people are whooping and congratulating me. I mean, it's born out of the frustration of sort of being on the phone for 2 hours with your alderman trying to get a street light fixed that went out in Easter and it stayed out past New Year's. I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm killing, all in fun. It's fiction, but yeah, it's a wonderful city to sort of write crime in and about. Because we've got all of this gritty underbelly sort of stuff. We've got gangsters in our history. We've got gangsters in our city hall. And it's a wonderful sort of milieu to put either cops or PIs or criminals or gangbangers or whatever into and see what you can come up with. The neighborhoods are wonderfully rich in terms of who lives there and why and what kind of people are there. And so it's a wonderful sort of playground to sort of play in.
I argue that a lot. So my family worked in construction, um, and if you want to be a contractor in the city of Chicago, you have to do certain things
Mm-hmm.
to get your license and keep your license. That's just the way the city of Chicago has always worked.
Yep.
But I will back you up and say that the city of Chicago has a heartbeat all its own, and best food scene in the world. I maintain.
Me too. I think you're
Yes,
right there.
without a doubt. Oh, yes. Um, Harriet, and I guess I didn't pick up on this in the first book. It almost seems to be, but I probably should have. It's a little bit more pronounced. She has this really bad habit of keeping information to herself, and that
Mm-hmm.
gets her into a little bit of trouble
Mm-hmm.
in fall. Uh, is she going? Is this a character trait that she's ever going to completely get rid of? Is she ever going to
I don't
completely give that up?
I don't think so because that's the kind of person that she is. In fact, in the third book, I mean, it comes to a sort of a critical point. She's
Mm,
holding on to information that endangers somebody down the line. Now, and then of course, guilt on top of guilt, responsibility on top of responsibility. But that's kind of who she is. I mean, she is so internalized. She has so sort of drawn in on herself that even the
mm,
trust that she should have with people around her, her partner, the people she works with, her family. I mean, these are connections that we as people sort of reach out. We reach out, right? Most of us do.
yeah,
When people who sort of don't reach out and sort of draw themselves in to such an extent that they cannot even trust to speak, that's a sort of a strange but interesting place for a writer to be in, to sort
yeah.
of dig into that kind of character that you cannot even get yourself to the point where you trust somebody enough to tell something that needs to be told. I mean, that's wonderfully rich. It just sort of crackles for a writer to
Yeah.
sort of figure out what that is and what's going to get that person to do something different. I love it. I love it. I sort of pulled my hair out first of all when I sort of created this thing because she didn't talk to me at all. I mean, the other
Yeah.
characters that I wrote about in the first series, this cast talked to me all the time. I hear her voice in my head right now. Harriet did not talk to me at all. I would sort of put her on a page and put her in the scene, and I would have to sort of dig, like a construction worker, to try to figure out who she was, what motivated her, whatever. Just nothing, silence.
Yeah.
And so then you have to sort of really go back and stop writing at a certain point. I did, and just sort of think about what this person is going through. I mean, she's lost most of everything, right? Her marriage, her 14-year-old son, her
Yeah.
longtime partner, in a situation that she carries a certain amount of guilt about. Where was she?
Yeah.
Why didn't she notice? Why wasn't she there? And so what comes out of that.
Hmm.
Harriet comes out of that, and I have to figure out who that is, what she worries about, what she laments about, and sort of figure out how to move her through the pages. So that's where I am in the series. That's where I am in her character
Hmm.
development. And then I put the other characters, sort of the secondary characters, as I need them to sort of pick out parts of her. And I think that's probably why that team sort of coalesced pretty quickly, because I needed somebody sort of on the other side of that to sort of pick things out. Whether Lee does it or Szymanski does it or Kelly or Bigelow, these characters have to bring something out of this character that doesn't speak to anybody. And hopefully through that, I will figure out who she is a little bit down the line, and sort of move her through the series.
Yeah, I get what you mean about the different characters in the team. They're almost pieces of a whole person.
Yes.
And if they and when they find that perfect nexus with all of them,
Mm-hmm.
they will be a complete person. But
Yep.
I loved I very much loved the character of Detective Lee.
Mm-hmm.
We see a little bit more of her. Very much somebody who is on the outside, trying to look in on her partner. Uh, Now, I think that starts to crack a little bit towards the end. That veneer of untouchability. I think there's a little bit of a crack that starts to form. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think. Am I wrong in saying that nobody at the precinct actually knows who the real Harriet is?
No, you're not wrong. Because she hasn't revealed that. I don't think
Mhm.
Harriet even knows who the real Harriet is, because she's a different Harriet than the one that she knows.
Yeah.
But these things happened. Before these things happened, she was a different Harriet. So this new
Mhm.
Harriet, I don't think she even has a grasp on that. She sort of remembers who she was when she had what she thought was everything.
Yeah.
But this new Harriet, this quiet Harriet, this half-life Harriet, is new to her as it is to everybody else. So she's got to sort of figure out, as we all do as real people, who we are and what's gonna move us.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that the Harriet we meet at the beginning of fall is actually a different Harriet towards the
Well,
end.
yeah, yep, yep.
And but I think that's true of all of us. If you think of the human existence in time span, you when you're born as a baby, you're a very different person by the time you leave elementary school,
Mm-hmm,
and then the same thing, middle school to high
mm-hmm,
school to
mm-hmm,
college. We have these segments in our lives.
mm-hmm.
You know, I've
Every
thought a lot
experience
about
sort of,
that.
yeah, absolutely, every experience we have changes us to a certain degree, in
Yeah.
large ways, in small ways, but we cannot come out of anything the same as we were when we went in, and Harriet's no different.
Which is actually very reminiscent of what I say about writers. We are the sum of our parts.
Hmm. Yeah,
We become who we are.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And that is what forms Harriet on the page. That is what forms her partners around her.
Hmm.
Is your collective experience. It's interesting to hear you say about being a pantser and not exactly sure where Harriet's going to go next.
I have absolutely no idea. I know where I want her to go. I want her to be
Mm.
well. I want her to be happy. I think we want that for most of our characters, except
Yeah.
for the bad guys. We want them to sort of come out of whatever experience it is, full people, whole people, and I want that for Harriet. But I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm finishing up book 3, and I think she's in a better place than she was in fall, but not
Hmm.
much. Because I don't think we as real people change in monumental ways. We make little small shifts. We learn little lessons, and those little
Yeah.
lessons change us a little bit, maybe a
Yeah.
half degree or so. But we don't change, in huge ways. And so in
Mhm.
the third book, Harriet sort of learns to trust Lee a little better. They become closer as partners. There's sort of a yin and yang sort of a situation where Lee can sort of see Harriet sort of
Sure.
struggling, and Harriet can also see that Lee is sort of trying to sort of hang in there and help her. So they sort of get a little closer in the third book. Hopefully, they'll get a little closer than that in the fourth. and we'll see what happens after that. But the team as a whole coalesces a little bit
Mhm.
in the second book and in the third book too, because they have to come together on a couple of different levels. There's the personal thing that's going on, and then there's also the case that they're working.
Mhm.
So as you work together in these little gritty town with all these criminals and corruption around you, you sort of hang together as cops and sort of form a family outside of your family. So that's
Mhm.
where I want these characters to go. We'll see if Harriet sort of plays along with that. I think it's sort of like a push and a pull sort of a thing.
Sure.
She goes a couple of steps forward, one step back, and that's also good for a writer to sort of get into that hesitance.
Is there a character you write in the series that is necessary but you detest?
Um, no, I kind of like all of my characters, even the
Okay.
ones that are, curmudgeony and sort of not the kind of people that you would invite over for dinner, but they're still
Yay.
interesting in terms of,
Go curmudgeons. Go curmudgeons.
but they're all interesting and to whatever, whatever their character is. There's something in there that I like. I don't think that there's any character that I've written, even the killers and the murderers, that I don't find interesting and sort of worthy of sort of intense scrutiny. So I kind of like looking at them, their flaws, their foibles. I like sort of seeing what makes them tick. So yeah, I love them all. They're all good material.
Hmm. I think authors get very good at seeing the the things that we can get along with in people,
Hmm.
even with people we don't necessarily normally like all that much.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
You can
think we're
sort of see
forced
the
to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Human nature is fascinating, especially for
It
us.
is. It is. It is very much so.
Yeah.
So, of course, the most important question I ever ask anyone is where can people find fall? I'm going to say Amazon, of course.
Well, Amazon, your favorite indie bookstore, library, anywhere books are sold, check it out. I hope you check it out and like it.
Mhm.
Um, and hope find Harriet sort of an interesting character to sort of read about.
I can tell you, you definitely will. Now, I've been asking people to do this, and it's been kind of fun for me. Um, let's say you are sitting there at a table full of your books at a book show, and
Hmm.
you've got piles of them on either side.
Hmm.
And I come up to you and say, Tracy, I read Hyde and I absolutely loved it. Give me your pitch for fall.
Well, if you like that one, you'll love Fall. Harriet is back. Her team is back. I have given her an impossible case to solve. Killing of local aldermen, 30 dimes on their bodies, the betrayer's payment, gritty Chicago, the underbelly of the city and politics in the city as it runs. In fact, I put one of the old Mayor Daley's favorite lines. I don't know anybody, nobody sent. Nobody anywhere else understands that except people from Chicago. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's how business is run here. The Chicago machine is alive and well. They will tell you it's
Yeah,
gone. It's no longer here.
it's.
It is here, and it will be here until Chicago burns down again. So
I agree.
yeah, that's who we are.
Yeah.
That's what the book is about. Chicago is another character in the books in the series, and the characters of Harriet I find infinitely interesting, and I hope readers will too.
I can guarantee from having read both books, you will find them interesting. It's really not hyperbole out of me when I say that the second book is amazing. It's maybe better. I may have enjoyed it better than the first book, and I loved the first book. So I can highly recommend it to everybody. As a matter of fact, I think it's possible, and I'm making a change late in the season. Every year on All Things Writing, I announce a book that I liked the year of that year better than and I have to give it to fall. I have to give it to fall.
Oh, thank you so
Um,
much.
and it was just such a great read. I I like to say that a really good book is one where I would willingly stay. I would willingly play hooky from work the next day just to keep reading. I was
Wow,
on an airplane and I burned through this in about 2 days.
awesome. I
So
appreciate that.
it was terrific.
Thank
Um,
you.
Now, I'm going to recommend everybody within the sound of my voice to go out and buy both of the books and prepare for great reads. I very, very much, once again, by the way, enjoyed hanging out with my guest today, Tracy Clark. Tracy, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for asking me.
It's
I'll see you
great.
next year when the next book comes out.
Yes, 100%. I will be on that one. Just I'll be there. Boom.
Cool.
Now, still, I want to recommend to the listeners out there. I need you to do something for me. You're on YouTube. Just move your little cursor up and click subscribe, please. Please do me that kindness. It makes me very, very happy when I see another subscriber number go up. But on behalf of All Things Writing, I need to thank my amazing guest, author Tracy Clark, for coming on the show and get fall. Bye, hide, get fall. Okay, enough on that one. This is All Things Writing, signing off. This has been another amazing episode of All Things Writing. If you heard something that got your wheels spinning, check out the links in the show notes. Also, please follow the show and remember to leave those reviews. Those simple acts of kindness mean the world to us. Hop on over to briannowak.com, and that is Brian with a Y, and check out my latest novels. I'm on Amazon or wherever you buy your ebooks. And as a reminder, the music you heard on the show today was used under license from the artist Ryan Ancona. Thanks for listening to the show and have a blessed day.